You are composed of more than flesh and memory. You are a living tapestry woven from the very words you speak. Each syllable uttered in your inner world either opens a gateway to profound restoration or commands your form to brace for further decay. The routines and remedies of the external world have failed because they ignore this fundamental architecture. True healing begins not with an action, but with a conscious shift in your foundational language. You have diligently followed every prescription, consumed the recommended foods, and practiced positive thinking. Yet a persistent ache remains deep within your chest in those silent places no medical scan can ever illuminate. This is not a sign of weakness or a broken spirit, but evidence that you are carrying linguistic burdens you were never meant to bear. Your body is not your adversary. It is a faithful scribe, meticulously recording every declaration you inscribe upon it. Declarations such as, "I am exhausted," or "My body is failing me," are not merely passive thoughts. They are active instructions, precise blueprints that your nervous system and cellular structure are compelled to obey. The undeniable truth of your anatomy is that you cannot foster wellness in a vessel you consistently speak against. Your internal dialogue is the primary author of your biological reality, writing its story not in ink, but in muscle tension, hormonal fluctuations, and the very rhythm of your breath. Modern neuroscience now confirms what ancient wisdom has always taught. Your repetitive thoughts and emotional patterns physically rewire the neural pathways of your brain. When you consistently think, "I am always tired," and emotionally resonate with that state, your body encodes it as your new baseline reality. Your biochemistry shifts to match the message, and soon your very cells begin to live within the echo of these limiting beliefs. This is not a poetic metaphor, but a measurable physiological process. Consider a person who, from youth, absorbed the phrase, "You are too emotional." This statement is not merely stored in the mind, it is etched into their posture, their breathing patterns, and their endocrine system. In adulthood, when powerful feelings surface, their body instinctively constricts, not because the emotions are dangerous, but because an old internal whisper commands, "Do not feel." Over time, this chronic containment is stored as anxiety, as unyielding tension, as a soul-deep exhaustion born not from circumstance, but from repetition. You may be entirely unaware of the foundational phrases you carry, the silent mantras that live in the background of your awareness. "I am not strong," or "My body betrays me." These are not fleeting thoughts. They are the invisible blueprints to which your cells, your hormones, and your immune system dutifully adjust. Yet this very mechanism holds the key to your liberation. If you have memorized the patterns of illness, you possess the same capacity to memorize the pathways of healing. This is the miracle of neuroplasticity. When you begin to consciously state, "I am safe now," or "My body knows how to recover," you are issuing new, life-affirming directives to your entire nervous system. This is not a hollow demand, but a gentle redirection. With consistent repetition, your biology has no choice but to begin following these new instructions. Your body is far more responsive than you have been led to believe. It listens not only to medicine, but to meaning. It discerns the authentic tone in your voice when you say, "I am okay." It perceives whether you truly trust yourself when you declare, "I am healing." It listens, and it continues its faithful transcription. The pivotal question thus transforms from "What is wrong with me?" to "What have I been saying to myself for so long that my body had no choice but to live it out?" This inquiry is not a foundation for guilt, but a doorway to profound responsibility, the kind that finally sets you free.
There exists a form of pain that no X-ray can detect and no scan can quantify. Yet your body registers its weight every single day. This is the accumulated burden of words you never realized you were carrying, particularly the ones you direct inward. I am such a mess, or I will never get better. We often speak these phrases casually, sometimes even with a laugh, but the body does not comprehend sarcasm. It receives every critical utterance as a literal command.
Every complaint and each phrase of self-rejection transmits a primal message to your organism. You are not safe. You are not enough. You are not whole. Over time, these messages do not simply pass through you, they take up residence. They settle into the muscles that will not relax, the fatigue that never lifts, the digestive system perpetually tight with unrest, and the breath you unconsciously hold. Your body is always listening to the story you tell about your existence. If a child were ill, you would not stand over them and declare, "You are hopeless, you will never be strong." Yet, this is precisely the language so many have learned to use internally. "This is just who I am," or "My body is broken." You would not speak this way to someone you love, yet you have learned to tolerate this subtle violence within yourself. What you tolerate, you implicitly teach your body to expect, and it will manifest that expectation as your physical reality. This is the insidious nature of harmful self-talk. It does not scream. It seeps slowly into your biological fabric, shaping your capacity to heal, to rest, and to trust in your own vitality. The human body thrives in an atmosphere of love, not an abstract spiritual concept, but a daily, spoken, and grounded verbal kindness. Without this internal sanctuary, your body exists in a state of perpetual siege, even when no external threat is present, because the most profound harm is emanating from within. This understanding is not an indictment or a cause for self-blame. You did not consciously choose these words to inflict pain. You likely inherited them in moments of overwhelm, adopting them from external voices, parents, culture, past influences that were never your own. Somewhere along the way, you mistakenly equated this inner punishment with personal responsibility, not realizing you were building the very architecture of your limitations. You believed that by scolding yourself with sufficient force, you would finally catalyze improvement. Yet the opposite occurred. You constricted, you numbed, you built a fortress of resilience, but lost the essential softness required for genuine healing. The alternative is not a leap into false positivity or a hollow declaration of being amazing amidst your suffering. It is the practice of honest kindness, a gentle but firm linguistic pivot that realigns your internal compass. Begin with a simple, truthful redirection. Replace "I am a disaster" with "I feel overwhelmed, but I am navigating my way through this." Exchange "I am broken" for "I am healing from wounds deeper than most can see." This is not denial. It is a conscious recalibration, a new agreement you forge with your own being. Your body, in its perpetual state of listening, immediately registers this shift and begins to adjust its response. Healing demands this new vocabulary, not to ignore your pain, but to cease the constant re-injury inflicted by your own voice. You cannot speak to your body as an adversary and expect it to lower its defenses. You cannot bully yourself into a state of balance, nor shame yourself into tranquility. The path forward begins with a single sentence, a softer tone, a deliberate choice to cease speaking harm and to begin articulating peace into your very cells. True healing ignites the moment you declare, "I am willing." Willing to experiment with a new way of being. Willing to extend kindness to the parts of you that feel fractured. Willing to see that the language you use internally becomes the architecture of your external life.
You have endured enough suffering under the weight of harsh internal narratives. This is the moment of their release, not through forceful suppression, but through gentle recognition. Speak now as someone who is already healing, even if you do not yet fully believe it. Speak as a person ready to cease wounding the vessel they inhabit. Speak with the profound understanding that your words were never merely words. They were seeds planted in the soil of your soul, and you now consciously choose to cultivate an entirely new harvest. There exists an inner voice that holds more sway over your restoration than any prescription, for it does not command your biology directly, but instead shapes your core beliefs. When a belief is felt deeply and spoken repeatedly, it becomes the unwavering compass for your entire nervous system. Most remain unaware of how frequently this internal narrator transforms into our most severe critic, not out of malice, but from a deeply ingrained habit of correction and pushing.
We speak to ourselves as we imagine progress should sound. You are so dramatic, or you need to toughen up. This critical voice does not merely exist as a thought, it echoes physically, as a tightening chest, a spike of cortisol, the shallow breath that follows a self-directed insult. When thoughts are fused with intense emotion, they begin the tangible process of rewiring your brain, training your body into a sustained state of being. Consider what occurs when your inner voice resonates more with punishment than with presence. You remain in a perpetual state of defense. Your body braces for the next assault, and healing is indefinitely postponed, for it cannot unfold in an environment of tension. It requires safety, and that safety is generated first by how you speak to yourself in moments of distress. Even affirmations will fail if delivered with a cold, mechanical, or doubtful tone. It is the energy behind the words that determines their potency as medicine. Now envision a different voice within you, not fake or forced, but genuinely kind. It is not a cheerleader shouting empty platitudes, but a grounded presence that whispers, "This is hard, and I am still here with you." This voice does not rush or scold, it soothes, like warm hands over a trembling heart. In its presence, a minor miracle occurs. The body begins to relinquish its guard, the breath deepens, and the true work of healing can commence. This compassionate voice may feel foreign at first, especially if your conditioning valued strength and suppression over softness. Yet it is a voice that can be learned and through practice can become your default. Speak to yourself with the tone you would use for a frightened child or a grieving friend. That gentleness is not a weakness, it is a profound biological nourishment. Your vagus nerve, the central command of your rest and repair system, responds directly to vocal tone. A calm, slow, and soft inner voice is not merely an act of self-kindness. It is a physiological signal that guides your body back into regulation. This is the essence of healing, not the frantic fixing or forcing, but the tone of presence that invites your entire being to exhale and return to its center. You can begin this very moment. Speak aloud, "I am doing the best I can, and that is enough for today." Feel the subtle shift within your chest when you imbue these words with sincere warmth. That sensation is your body's immediate, tangible response to love. You have exhausted the strategies of pushing and pressure. Now experiment with their opposite. Experiment with compassion and gentle consistency. Become the one voice in your own life that does not demand improvement, but offers unconditional acceptance as the very condition for profound transformation. This
is the healing voice. Once you discover it, you will wonder how you ever navigated life without it. Allow it to speak today. Let it accompany you through both pain and progress. Let it replace the internal storm with a steady inner sanctuary. For when your own voice becomes a source of solace, your body will finally believe, I am safe enough to heal. Every profound healing journey is activated by two words, I am. This is not a motivational slogan, but the very fulcrum of your identity. And identity is the frequency to which your body is most attuned. You can consume the vitamins, maintain the journals, and meditate diligently. But if your foundational whisper remains, I am sick, I am broken, your biology remains loyal to that core command. The body follows your declared identity, not your transient efforts. Your I am statements form the architectural blueprint for your mind's self-perception and your cell's functional response. This is why healing is inseparable from self-concept. You cannot inhabit a state of wholeness while verbally reiterating the identity of a wounded self. The language you choose becomes the cellular atmosphere. Declare, I am always tired, and the body adapts its chemistry to fulfill this prophecy. Many inhabit an identity they never consciously selected, one inherited from caregivers, diagnoses, or past traumas that whispered, you are not safe. Without realization, they began to repeat these assigned names. I am anxious. I am not strong. Over time, these labels shaped not only thought, but posture, breath, and cellular memory. The great miracle, however, is that what was once spoken in fear can now be rewritten in truth. State, I am not broken. I am healing. I am not a diagnosis. I am a living miracle in progress. These are not mere affirmations. They are restorative commands issued to your body and soul. The pivotal shift occurs the moment you cease trying to heal from the identity of someone who is permanently wounded. To declare, I am the medicine, is to become the very environment where healing is no longer a distant goal, but your present state of being. Try this now. Place a hand over your heart and state aloud, I am healing. Say it again, not as a wistful hope, but as a present moment fact. The unfamiliarity you may feel is not evidence of its falsehood, but proof of its novelty. New identities must be lived before they feel natural. Each time you declare, I am peace, I am strength, you plant a seed in the subconscious, and your biology begins seeking evidence to align with this new truth.
You are your own healer, not because you must journey alone, but because the words you speak about yourself either open or seal the doorway to wholeness. Ask yourself today, what name am I living under? And did I consciously choose it? You need not change everything at once, but you can begin. You can declare, I no longer agree with the old story. I'm choosing to speak from the version of me that is now rising. Your body will listen, for I am is not a description, it is a command. Healing is not something you pursue, it is something you consciously become. Pain is not your adversary, it is your body's most urgent and honest dialect. It does not arrive to punish you, but to communicate with a clarity your conscious mind often lacks. Where the mind will rationalize, dismiss, and delay, the body speaks its truth immediately and without filter. We have been taught to silence this signal, to numb it, to treat it as a failure. But what if pain is not a flaw to be eradicated, but a message to be understood? Your body is not launching an attack upon you. It is striving with immense urgency to capture your attention. The more you resist this communication, the more intense its volume becomes. Consider the tension in your neck that tightens the more you ignore it, or the gut issue that flares when you attempt to push through unsustainable stress. This is not a sign of weakness, it is a testament to a deeper truth being overlooked. Pain often manifests when a fundamental boundary is being crossed, an emotional truth is being suppressed, or a life pace has become untenable. It is the physical cry of a part of your being that has been neglected, asking not for punishment, but for presence and understanding. To converse with your pain is to shift from a paradigm of warfare to one of deep listening, transforming a symptom into a teacher. The body does not escalate to a shout unless its initial whispers were consistently overlooked. We have been culturally conditioned to perceive pain as a personal failure, an enemy to be vanquished. But what you declare war upon, you inevitably lose the capacity to understand. When pain is framed as an adversary, we sever our connection to our own physical form, bracing and overriding the very vessel that is pleading for attentive care. True healing commences when we shift our entire posture from one of resistance to one of sacred conversation. Imagine gently inquiring of your discomfort. What are you trying to tell me? What part of my being feels unheard? You may not receive a verbal answer, but your nervous system will profoundly register this shift in intention. It will feel your willingness to remain present instead of seeking escape, which is the very cornerstone of resolving deep-seated trauma. So much of our unresolved suffering is not merely physical, it is emotional residue that, when left unspoken, inevitably seeks expression through the body. It manifests as chronic tension, systemic inflammation, and debilitating exhaustion, not because the body is malfunctioning, but because it has become the involuntary storage container for everything that was never granted permission to be felt or expressed. Your symptoms are not mere dysfunction, they are a profound and intelligent signaling system. They are the body's way of insisting, slow down, look here, let go, forgive, rest. When you begin to respond to these signals with kindness and openness, you forge a new relationship with your body founded not on fear, but on mutual trust. Try this simple practice. Place your hands gently over the area of discomfort, close your eyes, and with a soft breath affirm, I am listening, you are safe to speak. Do not rush for an immediate insight, simply hold a space of pure presence. Assure your pain that it no longer needs to scream to be heard. You might start to notice clear patterns, that your migraines emerge during emotional overload, or your digestion falters when you suppress rightful anger. These are not coincidences, they are precise cues. The body always keeps the score, but it also faithfully holds the map to your liberation, and pain is often the very point where that map unfurls. Therefore, ask yourself today, what if you welcomed your pain not as a punishment, but as a devoted messenger? What if you ceased asking, why is this happening to me, and began inquiring what is seeking to emerge through this experience? This shift is not merely spiritual, it is intensely practical. When you stop fighting your symptoms, your body ceases its need to amplify them. You reduce the internal stress load, shifting your entire system from a state of perpetual defense to one of active repair. Healing then becomes not only possible but inevitable, not because the pain has magically vanished, but because the internal war has finally reached its armistice. Let this be the moment you transform your relationship with your own discomfort. Thank your pain for the protection it attempted to offer in the only ways it knew how, and reassure it that the fight for your attention is over. For pain that is genuinely listened to will gradually soften, and a body that feels truly heard can at last begin to heal. Every word you speak functions as a directive, a command broadcast to the entire network of your biology.
It is a misconception to view language merely as a tool for expression. On a fundamental level, your words are precise instructions. Your cells are not passive, they are perpetually listening and responding not only to chemical signals, but to the emotional resonance behind your speech.
The pioneering work in epigenetics reveals that our genes are responsive to their environment, and your thoughts and perceptions actively create that internal environment. If your mental patterns are fearful and your verbal expressions reinforce powerlessness, you cultivate an inner world where healing is stifled, inflammation thrives, and survival mechanisms override restoration. The converse is equally true. When your language articulates safety, possibility, and gentle certainty, you generate a biological climate conducive to profound repair. In this way, your words do not merely reflect your state, they actively help to generate it. Common phrases like, "my body never cooperates," are not harmless speech habits. They are unconscious mantras repeated daily and absorbed by a biology that trusts the voice it hears most. Now envision replacing those phrases with, "my body is working with me. I am learning to support myself through this." These are not commands shouted in desperation, but calm, repeated cues, like a kind teacher retraining a nervous system. The body does not demand perfection, but it requires clear direction. Without conscious language, your biology defaults to old patterns and outdated identities that no longer serve your evolution. This practice is not about forced positivity. It is about becoming a precise and intentional speaker. Articulate not what you fear, but what you want your body to recognize and embody. Speak not from a place of inherited limitation, but from a place of conscious choice. You might affirm, "I feel this tension, and I now send softness there." This symptom is a message, not a punishment. My body knows how to find its balance again. Do not underestimate the cumulative power of these gentle phrases. They are like water on parched earth, gradually restoring the trust between you and the body you once resented. The science is clear. Your inner dialogue can literally switch genetic pathways on or off. This is not metaphor, it is cellular biology. The pivotal question is, what are you instructing your body to do with your language? Start with bridge statements that feel authentic. I am learning to feel safe. It is okay to heal now. My body hears me. Let these become your new normal. Let your language construct the inner sanctuary your nervous system is yearning to return to. This is the foundation of a true partnership with your own being, a partnership that begins with how you choose to speak, especially in moments of fear. There arrives a pivotal moment in every profound healing journey when the transformation within you begins to radiate outward. Your energy no longer broadcasts a story of survival, but instead communicates, "you can breathe here." This is when healing transcends the personal and becomes a transmissible force. You yourself become a healing field for others. Your body operates as a broadcasting tower, emitting a frequency based on your internal state. When you genuinely embody peace, when your words, thoughts, and energy are in complete alignment, you signal coherence to those around you. This is not performance or charisma. It is the magnetic power of true integrity. Your regulated nervous system gently invites others to regulate alongside you. This is the silent, potent legacy of doing the inner work. You become living evidence that nervous systems can heal, that language can be restored, and that peace is possible after pain. You do not need to fix or carry others. You simply need to embody what you have become. Your presence becomes an unspoken permission slip for others to soften, to pause, and to trust in their own capacity for wholeness. This is why sages and healers throughout history have influenced others without uttering a word. They no longer speak about peace. They are peace, and presence does not lie. If you have ever wondered if your healing matters, the answer is that it is already creating a ripple effect. Every kind word you have spoken to your own body, every gentle breath taken amidst stress, is not just self-care, it is a transmission. Your healing is not a selfish act. It is a generational contribution. It is relational and profoundly contagious. Let your very being become the medicine. Let the way you have learned to speak to your own pain become the way the world begins to speak to itself. You are the field now, and without any conscious effort, you will help others remember how to come home. The external world speaks a different dialect, one of hurry, shame, and relentless comparison. It commands you to be stronger, to suppress your sensitivity, and to view success as the only valid proof of your healing. Having just begun to breathe more deeply, you may feel yourself bracing once more, for it is one feat to cultivate peace internally and another entirely to maintain it when your environment reflects none of your inner tranquility.
True healing is not a solitary achievement. It is a relational art, tested in your daily interactions and fortified by the boundaries you courageously uphold. It is most profoundly revealed in how you speak to yourself when others fail to understand your newfound softness. The world may not greet your transformation with applause. It may respond with discomfort or even resistance. This is not a sign of regression, but a testament that your energy has fundamentally shifted. Your field of being no longer conforms to the old, worn-out systems of survival. Your new task is not to protect your healing by retreating from the world, but to anchor it so deeply within your own being that it remains unshaken by external chaos. This begins with the conscious recognition that you have ceased to speak the language of urgency. You now communicate in the dialect of integration. In a culture addicted to speed, your deliberate pace may feel like a form of resistance, and it is. It is a resistance to self-betrayal, to overexertion, and to the outdated notion that pain is a required proof of worth. Your softness is a sacred trust, and to preserve it, you must be willing to disappoint the external expectations that no longer serve your soul's evolution. You do not owe the world your pain story as an explanation for your boundaries. You do not owe hyperproductivity as evidence of your improvement. Your sole responsibility is loyalty to your new internal tone. When met with harshness, you need not mirror that energy. You can choose to remain kind to yourself. When your pace is questioned, you need not justify it. You can simply affirm, "This rhythm protects my peace." There will be moments of solitude, times when you question if such careful speech is too idealistic. In these instances, remember that you are not healing in a vacuum. Every time you consciously choose calm over conflict, you grant others silent permission to consider a new way of being. Every time you remain grounded in your tone, you demonstrate that gentleness is not weakness, but strength in its most sustainable and potent form. You will gradually discover others who speak your new language, individuals who affirm, "I no longer rush, I refuse to insult myself for validation." You will find each other, for a coherent healing field is magnetic to those on a similar path. Until those connections form, let your own voice be your constant anchor. Let it be the grounding rod that steadies you. Repeat to yourself, "I protect my peace with softness,
not walls. I belong to my healing, even when the world does not recognize it. You have arrived not at an ending, but at a new beginning, where words are no longer background noise, but precise instruments of restoration. Silence is no longer empty, but a sacred space of integration. Your inner voice has been reclaimed as your greatest ally. Let this be your enduring reminder. Your healing was never solely in the doing. It was always and will always be in the conscious way you choose to speak, especially when silence would have been easier. If you take nothing else from this journey, let this fundamental truth remain. Your body was never your adversary. It was only ever faithfully echoing the language you provided it. Now you know a better way. Because you know better, you will speak with greater intention. Because you speak with greater intention, you will live a more aligned life, not a perfect one, but a gentle one. And gently, you will discover, is more than enough. Move forward now, not with noise, but with profound knowing. Not with pressure, but with unwavering presence. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You need only to continue being a healing presence for yourself and for anyone fortunate enough to witness the way you have learned to speak. You are no longer merely surviving. You are consciously speaking to heal, and your body, at long last, is listening. And so the great work continues, not in the grand gestures, but in the quiet authority of your next spoken word. You are the architect of your inner world, and every syllable is a stone laid upon the path to wholeness. If this resonance has found a home within you, help this signal expand. By subscribing and joining our community with notifications activated, you weave your energy into a wider field of awakening, ensuring these ancient keys to modern healing reach all who are listening for them. Share your journey in the comments below, for your story is a unique frequency that guides others home. The most profound spell you will ever cast is the sentence you choose to speak next. Thank you for watching.